immigrant is not a thing, an object, or even a person. Right? An immigrant is a historically contingent relational category. Okay? Immigrant was initially a state-imposed category, not a self-designation. Right? It was a strategy of differentiation that determined the rights and privileges of citizenship, in the U.S. here, largely based on race, legally sanctioned through the early 20th century. It facilitated kind of this labor differentiation. It ensured a vast army of casualized labor. It empowered the state to use its authority and power to remove or incarcerate dangerous, unwanted, or deviant sections of mostly working people through deportation. You notice that in that film, those men and women who were marching were not saying we're immigrants, right? They were saying we're refugees. Refugees is what you acted upon, right? And as refugees seeking asylum, they're human beings seeking their basic human rights, right? The creation of the immigrant was really essential in forming nation states, national identity, for the invention of borders, and the construction of a security regime to define and police those borders. Again, this is all over the globe. For ideologies justifying exclusion, inclusion, and citizenship. And as a consequence of the last two, for potentially criminalizing and excluding for no other reason other than a condition of exclusion, a condition determined by the state. Finally, the immigrant represents and is a product of the ebbs and flows of capital. In other words, the problem of the immigrant is a modern phenomenon. It really is in some ways a 20th century phenomenon. It's invented by the conditions of the 20th century. That is, there have always been outsiders, there's always been migratory flows of people, there's always been people displaced by war, by famine, by conquest, but none of these produce the modern category of the immigrant that require documentation, control, policing apparatuses. So part of the story tonight is a story about policing apparatuses, about the creation of conditions that exclude in a very legal, high-tech way. And I say this because, this is a conversation that is echoed by being in California, it's echoed by the fact that we talk about immigrants and immigration all the time here. We rarely interrogate what that means. And we automatically think of Latinos and borders, and yet there's so much we can learn about the category of immigrant in Israel, Palestine, where indigenous people have been turned into refugees within their own home. Turned into refugees, where cheap, casualized labor arrived from all over the world, some fleeing desperate, poverty-stricken, violent situations, where the law of return enables the state to transform new arrivals, so long as they're Jewish and not Africans, into natives, into citizens, into Israelis, and in doing so, produce a kind of nativism or racism that could prove lethal.